It's been nearly 4 years since I photographed a wedding. The last wedding I photographed took place in April of 2021, and it was in Cabo, Mexico. Now, this was my first destination wedding, and so I kind of thought it would be a great time to retire or to just, take a break for a while. And I did that. Now, there's a lot of reasons as to why, but I'll go back to the beginning. When I started as a professional photographer, my mindset was always to be a commercial photographer. I got into wedding photography initially because it was the most money I knew how to make from, providing videography or photography services. I was trying to get my foot in the door. So in the meantime, I said, okay, if I want to make, a decent amount of money, I'll shoot a wedding. So for like the first 2 years of my career, I mostly shot as a secondary photographer. When I got comfortable enough, I started taking and leading my own weddings. And I actually started out with video first. Like my first, I think 2 or 3 weddings that I did was actually video. And then it switched over to photography. I don't want this to come off like I'm knocking weddings or anything like that. I appreciate anybody that ever hired me, from the clients, the bride and the groom, all the way to other photographers that brought me in as a secondary. I always put my work in. I always put every bit of effort that I could, but it's just, personally, that's not my favorite genre. I can do it. And I mean, I look at some of my images from years ago and I'm like, I was killing. It's not my favorite thing to photograph though. And so in this video, I'm going to talk about a few reasons why I chose to step back from photographing weddings. Will I come out of retirement in 2025? Who knows? I might be like a wrestler or a rapper. Wrestlers and rappers never stay retired. They'll go away for like a year, 2 years, maybe 5 years, but they always come back. So am I coming back in the 4th year of me being retired? Who knows? We got to see. And before I get into the reasons, I am trying to reach 1,000 subs by the end of the year. Help me get there. Go ahead and hit that like button. Help this video spread. Subscribe to the channel. It's free. It don't cost nothing. Just hit that subscribe button. Reason number 1 is time. So once I finally got my foot into the door and I started doing commercial projects, I quickly realized that the money I was making shooting weddings, it just kind of didn't add up. Now, I've heard of photographers that are, making $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 photographing weddings. I never got that type of opportunity. I'll be honest and candid with you guys. A lot of my weddings fell into a range of maybe $1,500 to $3,000. When I'm doing commercial projects, what I would make for a wedding that I got to be at anywhere from 6 to 8 hours, I could make that in an hour, 2 hours. And so once you start getting accustomed to that, it's like, all right, I'm buying my time back now. Back in the heyday, in the early days, I used to go hard. I mean, there's weekends where I was shooting 2 weddings a weekend, maybe one on Friday, maybe one on Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday. There was one weekend I can recall that I actually photographed the entire weekend. I was hired in as a second shooter on a wedding on a Friday and a Sunday, and then I had my own wedding that I was shooting on a Saturday. So literally that whole weekend, and they were in different cities. So it was crazy. So I put the hard work in, and I just felt like, okay, it's time for me to kind of step back. And like I said, it was a destination wedding. It was a perfect swan song to go out on, to say like, all right, I got flown out to Mexico to photograph this beautiful wedding, a beautiful couple, and I can't get much bigger for the moment. So I'm gonna chill. And it was during the pandemic, so it just made a lot of sense. Reason number 2 is family. It's kind of piggybacking off of the first reason, which was time. My parents, they're getting up in age, and I want to have more ability to just randomly go see them on the weekends or just spend time with my daughter. Those first early grind years, my daughter was a baby. Initially she wasn't even born. And then she was a baby, and the early stages, 4, 5, 6, it was a little more palatable for me to be gone on the weekends. But now she's almost 10. I can't just always be gone every weekend. And like weddings, being a wedding photographer, your weekends are toast. I mean, if you're lucky, You might get a Friday wedding or a Thursday wedding, but for the most part, let's be honest, Saturday and Sundays, like, that's what it is. I'm at a point now where I generally don't even work on Saturdays. I try my best not to take any gigs on Saturdays. And I'm either at home resting, I'm at home with my daughter. She's in a lot of activities now, so I have the freedom to go to her games. I have the freedom to, take her to practices and just all these type of things that there's no way I would be able to do if I still was actively taking on weddings. Money is important, but to your child, it's much more important that you're active in their life and things that they're interested in. I love to be able to just randomly plan an activity for the weekend, and I put in so much work to get myself to this point. I missed so much in my early years. Rondell was never at events. People would just know that more than likely if it was something on the weekends, Rondell wasn't going to be there. Like I said, Saturdays are a really busy day. Sundays are a really busy day. And I worked very hard to get myself to a point where I could say no to those opportunities. So all of these things weighed into why I said, you know what, I got to stop taking weddings and just weekend jobs in particular. Reason number 3 is stress. I got to say again, I don't want to talk down on weddings because that's not what I'm doing. But I've had some weddings that were like, whew, this is a little much. Now, luckily, most of those weddings weren't actual weddings that I booked. It was weddings that I did as like a secondary. I've just dealt with some bridezillas, or I can't even really call them bridezillas. I would say more so momzillas, because generally the bride and the groom are cool. If you have any type of issue, it normally comes with the mother of the bride. 90% of the attitudes or people that were hard to work with, in my opinion, was the mom of the bride. If you're a wedding photographer and you agree or disagree, leave it down in the comments. I'm kind of interested to know what you think about that. But that was most of my stress. And it wasn't crazy. It would just be stuff like, did you take a picture of the dress? Did you get a picture of this? Or can you? And it's like, I shot that 20 minutes ago. I got this. Also, for me, one of the biggest stressors of a wedding is the cocktail hour. I hate cocktail hour. When I'm doing video, I don't mind it. But when I'm the lead photographer, cocktail hour is, it's a doozy. It never fails. There's always a groomsman and always a bridesmaid that just won't take direction, won't listen. You try to line them up. You got all the guys turned this way. Then you got the one guy that's like this way. And you're like, can you turn this way? And he's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And you're like, look at all the other guys. Turn this way. There's a bridesmaid. She'll be the exact same way. It's almost like they are intentionally antagonizing you. And it's like, come on, man. Like, let's get this over with. The sooner you get this over with, y'all can go take your shots, get your drinks. That used to be super stressful. Another cause of stress is also with cocktail hour is, as soon as the wedding ends, you always have a flood of guests that, rush the bride and the groom, and they're trying to take photos and they're trying to have conversations. And let me tell you, that cocktail hour flies by like that. I understand you're happy to see your friend or your family member get married, but it's like, we can do all this talking at the reception. Like, I need to get these shots. So that used to be a bit much. And then even like at the reception, when you're trying to get those key moments, like the first dance, the cutting of the cake, you always have, 5 or 6 people jumping in front of you with their phones and they're trying to take pictures. And I'm standing there like, excuse me, you're interrupting my shot. It's just things like that. Like, it weighs on you when it happens repeatedly. And me, I'm low key. I don't really like to have to say anything to anybody, so it makes me uncomfortable, just to have to tell them like, hey, excuse me, I need to get this shot. I'd rather not do that. I just wish people would think about what they're doing and let the professional get what they need, and then you can step in and get your shots or do it later. That's another reason why I said, you know what, peace out on the weddings. It's too many people, too many personalities that I'm dealing with. I need a break. So that was 3 reasons why I chose to step away from weddings. Someone actually reached out to me yesterday to inquire if I still photograph weddings. She gave me a few details. I know that the wedding is next summer. We'll see. I don't know. It has been Like I said, it's almost been 4 years. Definitely by next summer when the wedding gets here, it'll be over 4 years since I last shot one. So I don't know. It might be a interesting experience to kind of get in there and mix it up again. But right now, I'm happily retired. Will I keep the streak going? I'm gonna ask y'all, like, what should I do? Should I take the wedding? Should I walk away from the wedding? Yeah, I don't know. Are you thinking about walking away from weddings in 2025? Or have you already walked away from weddings? Let me know. But like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.